All right, so we just finished talking a little bit about political ideology, which we all know is a set of beliefs and values that people or a group has about how society should work. The political spectrum is a system that allows us to organize political ideologies along a spectrum from left to right in this situation. So that we can compare different political beliefs and ideologies. It gives us a general view on ideologies, and so you can see how you compare to political parties, to different individuals, and you can gain an understanding of not just that you're liberal or not just that you're conservative, but how liberal and how conservative are you. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at each of these top 5 things, from radical all the way to reactionary. Most of Americans, I would say, fall somewhere between the liberal, moderate, and conservative part of the spectrum. But there's definitely people out there that we would consider radicals and reactionaries. All right, so let's start on the far left of the spectrum. These are the radicals, or the far left. Like anybody on the left, they favor change to existing social and economic political systems. But radicals believe rapid and fundamental, like overall change has to happen. So big change. And they're willing to use extreme measures like violence if necessary to achieve their goals. Next in, still on the left side of the spectrum, we have the liberals. Liberals believe that the government should take action to bring about social reform. So they truly believe that government's job is to make change to society, to update the government to what the social norms are today. They favor change, but believe that we must work peacefully within the existing government or political system to make this change. Examples of this would be the modern-day Democratic Party. In the middle, we have moderates. Moderates are people who have opinions between those of liberals and conservatives, right? So hence the word moderate. They're somewhere in the middle. That doesn't mean they're moderate on everything, but somewhere, they can see both sides of liberals and conservatives, or they have a view that's somewhere in the middle, or maybe they have some liberal views, some conservative views, and they just don't really feel like they have a home with liberals or conservatives, so they feel like they're more in the middle. Moderates oftentimes are tolerant of more viewpoints, as they see both sides and don't have as strong of a view. To the right, we have conservatives. Conservatives in general believe that government, for the most part, should stay out of the lives of citizens and businesses. However, they don't believe this is necessarily true all the time. They do believe there are certain moral issues, things that they believe are inherently right or wrong, that the government needs to step in to legislate morality. Things like abortion, marriage, things like that, that they believe are certain moral issues that the government should step in and make a decision on. But in general, conservatives do not want change. They want status quo, meaning they want things to generally stay the same. And change should be very, very slow, if at all. But conservatives, just like liberals, believe in working within the current political system to do this. Some examples of that would be the Republican Party. The Reform Party is like a third party that also kind of falls in here. Now, in modern times, the Republican Party might be shifting a little bit further right, especially when it comes to how they go about wanting to get their viewpoints across. We see, in some cases, working outside of what the current political system historically has allowed. So we'll see what's happening there. The Republican Party might be moving a little bit further right here. And then we have, way on the far right, reactionary. And the members of this group want to not just stop change from happening, but actually want to return to a previous social, political, or economic system that existed before at some other point in history. This is kind of where I talked about the Republican Party kind of moving a little bit. There definitely seems to be a little bit more of not just staying with the status quo, but reverting back to a different time period with some of the issues. Reactionaries, though, will use extreme measures to achieve their goals if they feel that it is necessary, and this could include violence or doing things outside of what is the current method of practice. So that's kind of your spectrum, right? The spectrum goes from left to right, from radical to reactionary, with the majority of Americans fitting inside these liberal, moderates, and conservative parts of the spectrum. So what does each side believe? It really kind of depends. There's a lot of different viewpoints here, but basically liberals believe in change while conservatives believe in tradition. Liberals believe that problems are based on circumstance and that not each individual person is to blame for their own problems, whereas conservatives would say problems are that of the individual, and the individual should be responsible for taking care of them, not government. Things like liberals saying government should be involved to make social change and to create equality and fairness, whereas conservatives would say the government should be less involved as much as possible. People should have more personal choice. People should have a say over their own property. People, should not be interfered with by the government. And liberals also, when it comes to values, liberals would believe that in relative values, that values change over time based on society and what's important to them at that time, whereas conservatives believe in more moral absolutes and traditional values. So we're going to get into a lot of these things in a little bit, and in a future class we will look at how each of these from the left to the right, like we'll look at specific issues like abortion, marriage, flag burning, welfare, healthcare, drugs and crime, education, taxes, environment, and government and business regulation, discrimination, gender equity and equality, affirmative action and competition, the environment, right? All these things are things we will look at, and by the end you should have a good idea of where liberals would stand on some of these issues and where conservatives would stand on some of these issues. And then you're eventually going to make a choice of where do you fall on that political spectrum, right? Are you more liberal or are you more conservative? And how conservative or how liberal or how moderate are you? Then eventually we'll also be looking at the political parties. As you can tell from what we've looked at, if you know anything about the political parties, in this situation, Democrats tend to fall on the liberal side, and Republicans tend to fall on the conservative side. Democrats are usually more liberal because they tend to support things like government action to promote equality, social programs, and stronger regulations of businesses, where Republicans tend to be on the conservative side because they tend to support limited government, lower taxes, individual responsibility, and traditional values. Now, this is not a perfect fit for Democrats and Republicans. Remember that both parties have a mix of beliefs. Some Democrats hold conservative values on certain things, while some Republicans hold liberal views on certain things. Issues don't always fall neatly right or left. For example, things like foreign policy and immigration, or even technology, can oftentimes have split opinions within the Democratic or Republican Party. And lastly, the spectrum is very simplified, and that's the purpose of it, is to simplify political ideologies. Real political beliefs are more complex and can overlap. And they even shift over time, as we are seeing with both of the political parties today shifting in their viewpoints from that of 20, 30 years ago. So in short, the political spectrum is a useful tool, but it can't capture every single detail of people's political views. So it is okay for you to be on the left if you believe you're left, but still hold some conservative beliefs, or to be on the right, but still hold some liberal beliefs. That's actually very common. All right, we're going to do some things and apply this information in an upcoming class. Hopefully you get some good notes. I can answer any questions in class.